That messy ball of leaves above your yard is not as random as it looks. The first clue is the way the squirrel hesitates before going in. Up close, the mess has an entrance, layers, and a root, and that tiny doorway points to a whole map above the yard. From the ground, most people only see a loose pile of leaves, but for a squirrel, height changes everything. A good drey often sits where branches can hold it. The nest also makes more sense when you follow the route to it. One open gap can slow the whole journey. The squirrel does not take the shortest path. It takes the known one. Now the nest looks less like clutter and more like a destination. A leaf nest also tells you where the wind goes. The doorway is often placed where the body can vanish fast. From outside, it looks loose, but the layers can trap still air. Sometimes the nest tells its story by staying quiet. Below it, human routines can become part of the squirrel's timing. When the yard settles, the hidden room opens again. Once you know what to look for, the tree changes. A squirrel may know more than one shelter, but one can become the main room. Open sky can be enough reason to choose a different branch. Even a tail flick can show that something changed below. The nest is not just where the squirrel sleeps, it is where the route can pause. Some of the room above may begin as ordinary leaves below. One leaf seems tiny until you see where it goes, but not every leaf ball is being used today. A clean little path to the doorway can be a quiet clue. The best observer only watches from a distance. From below, the tree trunk is not just a tree, it is a staircase. Even on one tree, the squirrel still has choices. The feeder may draw attention, but the nest sits away from the crowd. A busy food spot can make a quiet shelter even more important. Instead of joining the noise, it returns to the hidden room. Some routes do not look wild at all, they look like parts of a house. At the edge, the squirrel still checks before crossing. One careful crossing brings it back to the same quiet place. Then the branch goes empty again, as if the yard has reset. A yard can be remembered by shapes: the post, the roof, the fork, the nest. Even a bird bath can become a corner on the squirrel's route. The open lawn may be the shortest way, but not the most comfortable one. By staying near edges, the squirrel reaches the tree almost invisibly. The route is quiet, but the destination is always high. Even the sun side and shadow side can matter. The squirrel does not have to leave the room completely to check the day. After rain, the outside can look soaked, while the entrance still holds its shape. On wet mornings, the story may stay hidden a little longer. When the branches dry, the first movement may come from the doorway. Below the nest, the squirrel's map may include old food spots too. This time, the nest matters more than the buried clue. A single step below can send the whole story upward. The same branch fork becomes the safe turn again. By now, the messy ball has become a doorway. And when it closes, the yard below keeps moving without seeing it. In leafless seasons, a drey can suddenly become visible. In greener months, the same room may be almost invisible. More leaves can also make the upper root feel more covered. The yard changes costume, but the root can stay familiar. A high nest can also sit inside a busy squirrel neighborhood. Sometimes the smartest move is not moving. When the branch clears, the doorway becomes available again. By now, the nest is telling us 5 things at once. As light fades, the same high room becomes even harder to notice. Before the yard goes quiet, the squirrel makes one more choice. It chooses the place that keeps the whole yard at a distance. From below, it becomes a messy ball again. If you see one in your yard, start with where it sits. Then look for the easiest branch leading in. A dark little gap can be more important than the whole pile. Around the nest, cover can matter as much as the nest itself. The higher it sits, the farther it is from daily surprises. Fork, doorway, root, cover, height, together they tell the story. The story does not end after the nest is built. One small adjustment can change the shape of the doorway. Then the yard tests the work in its own quiet way. When the tree moves, the squirrel can simply stay tucked away. When the motion settles, the doorway comes alive again. From that doorway, the yard is a set of distances. The same landmarks line up from above. Fence, post, gutter, trunk. Leaving the nest is a choice, not a random burst of motion. The path down is the same story in reverse. Small marks on a tree can become familiar turning points. A less familiar branch can make the squirrel turn back. The stronger fork wins. Back on the fence, the high room is still part of the trip. Even a porch chair can become part of the squirrel's mental map. To us, it is just a chair. To the route, it is a corner. A small human change can redraw the path for a few minutes. The hidden room can be reached from more than one side. From this side, the same nest looks different again. Move around the tree, and the hidden doorway returns. The story changes when the angle changes. All this time, the squirrel has not been far away. It has been above the yard. It is not a pet. It is a wild neighbor reading familiar signals. And if the signals change, the room is only a few steps away. The human routine passes. The upper story stays. When the yard is quiet again, the squirrel checks the route. But the squirrel does not always need to travel far. Fur, leaves, bark, and branches all blend into the same little system. Then, with one small shift, the map starts moving again. Not every signal means danger. Sometimes it is only the yard moving. The nest is not separate from the yard. It listens to it. So the next time you see a messy nest, do not stop at messy. Look for the fork. Look for the root. Look for the small, dark doorway. And remember, the squirrel is still making choices up there. The story slips back into the leaves. From the ground, it is just a messy nest again. But now you can see the roots around it. The same leaves that fall under your feet can become shelter overhead. A quiet observer does not need to interrupt the story. The messy nest above your yard may be a whole little story, hiding in plain sight. Have you noticed squirrel nests high in the trees around your yard? Once you notice one, the whole tree starts to look different, and sometimes the only sign is one leaf moving where no wind reaches. Below, the yard goes back to looking ordinary. Even without the squirrel in view, the path is still there. Your yard may have an upper story you have walked under for years. Messy is only the first impression. A tiny sound, a small shift, and the story is still there. The yard is quiet, but it is not empty. Tomorrow, someone may walk under that tree and never know. Have you noticed squirrel nests high in the trees around your yard?